So we've had two great performances. We just had the Forum Theatre, and then we had the Image Theatre just before that. I think it's now time for us to see how theatre intervention has had true and tangible impact within the corporate sector. We've got a couple of case studies that we have colleagues from the corporate sector here. So I'd like to invite Bhavana Kuka to please come up on stage. Bhavana, if you can come from your right side, it's much easier. Bhavana is the Director of Communication at ADESA, and she'll be talking about theatre for fueling social first mindset. I'm very curious to know what is social first mindset. So please welcome Bhavana, everybody.
Thank you. He spoke about role effectiveness, and he said, how am I playing this role and how can I play it differently? Okay, so I was working with IBM before ADESA, and every year we kind of have a leadership meeting the beginning of every year. And this is to kind of, to strategize and look at the road ahead, etc. And 2 years ago, our managing director was very clear. He said, my leaders do not have a social first mindset. And what is social first? So when you spoke about role effectiveness, and when we speak about IBM, and I'm going to connect the two, right? Because when we speak about IBM, we always say that the company is known by its people. And IBM, I think, was one of the first organizations to be known by its people, the IBMer. And when we speak, and I'm sure a lot of you are in marketing and communications, and we say that every employee is a brand ambassador. And we rely a lot on our leaders to show us the way, to kind of set the ground and say, hey, this is what I'm doing, so you guys have to, follow by example, right? So when we speak about social first, we were all kind of saying, oh, we've got to tweet, we've got to put it up on LinkedIn, we've got to put it up on Facebook. How will the millennial know how cool IBM is? Because IBM was always known as boring and fuddy-duddy and all of that. But a lot of leaders did not know how to do it or did not want to do it because of a lot of reasons. Some of them used to say, oh, I tweet once in a while. But they were all retweets and forwards and to do theatre intervention. So I actually met up with Nandini and the team, and I said, this is my issue. My leaders are not doing this, but how can I provoke them? How can I get them to say that it takes 5 minutes to get on LinkedIn and share something? And it's not always about retweets. I'm sure all of you all are on social. It's not always about forwards. It's about what you think. It's about what your perception is or your view is that will kind of give you that thought leadership, right? And as a leader, I think all of us would want that, to create that social image for ourselves. So when we spoke with Nandini, it was actually a tall task, because how do we then bring this down to a level in theatre that we can break it down for the leaders and say, hey, it can be fun. And it is something which is really, really easy. Your 10-year-old son is on social, or your 15-year-old son is on social. So it's not that hard. And actually, there were a couple of things which came up. A lot of leaders were a little scared to put themselves out there to the external world. And some of them actually said, how can I tweet this thought in 140 characters? I can't possibly do that. Right? But the theatre, when we had a 60-minute session for our leaders, it's about 150 odd people at that point in time. It was so interesting because we called for experiences to be shared. We asked some of our leaders to come on stage, and I think Nandini and her team broke down every element and kind of made it a fun, a relatable exercise, and we kind of showed that it was not that difficult. So when you see yourself, I mean, it's almost like standing outside of your body and seeing what's happening around you. And that's what I think it was an out-of-body experience for a lot of our leaders, because they had their stories being enacted on stage real time. And there were different reactions to some of the things they would have done otherwise. So it was a very different way of tackling something, because we've had so many social cafes, we've had so many PowerPoint presentations shared with them saying that, oh, social 101, this is what you've got to do, and this is what you've got to say. But I think we just demystified the whole thing in a very fun, interactive way that really helped our leaders. And I think it's helped them. Not all of us can be on all the social platforms, but at least they found their niche. They know that, hey, I want to blog, hey, I would rather be on Twitter, or hey, I don't want to be on social, which is still fine. But I think that's what social intervention did. I mean, I can't really say what percentage it has grown from a social first mindset, but I think it's not as tough anymore. So this is what I would like to share with the team.